Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to host my friend Vincent Driscoll here today, who's going to be talking all about content, long form content distribution to reach new customers to help drive your client acquisition strategy. Thank you so much for being here today, Vincent.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You want to tell us a little bit about your background and what we're going to chat about here today?
Sure. I have about at least 15 years of social media experience for a major brand in the promotional products industry. I started out in 2009 creating, this was back when nobody knew what they were doing with social media from a business perspective. I set up all the accounts for the business I was working for and basically just kind of learned how to use social media as a tool for your business. Like I said, it was wild, wild west back in 2009, 2010. But within 5 or 6 years, social media became a very important asset for a business. And I learned how to use it just through trial and error, experimentation. And I was able to get a lot of experience on how to use social media for a business.
Awesome. Very cool. So I know you have some thoughts about, long form content and distributing it. So do you have any tips or best practices for people who are thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a podcast?
Well, I always say that if you have any type of video content, anything that you want to record, um, always put it into YouTube. YouTube is by far one of the biggest websites on the planet in terms of people visiting. I think it's in the top five. I think Google is number one. YouTube might be number two or number three. But who owns YouTube? Google. So you're going to also get that preferential treatment for your business if you put all your content into YouTube and you're good with your SEO. You title everything. You add summaries. You add tags. Chances are people are going to find that content just through a simple search on Google. So any video at all that you do, create a YouTube channel, put all of your content in there. Even if you're not really promoting your YouTube channel from your, say, your website or from any of your marketing collateral, make sure that you have a YouTube channel for your business. People could actually stumble upon a lot of that content.
So what you're suggesting is rather than people recording just an audio podcast, they should start with the video and then they could perhaps re-release it as a podcast as well.
Totally. I'm bullish about creating video first and then taking what you create in video and then maybe exporting it as a podcast. It's a little bit more of a challenge for any small businesses that really don't have that expertise. But certainly recording a video nowadays, phones, your computer, you can easily capture video, upload it to YouTube. But you can also export that audio and put it into Apple Podcasts. You can put it into Stitcher. You can put it into SoundCloud. Any type of audio-based podcasting, you can export the MP3s from YouTube itself and then add them into the podcast. So to me, I feel like you can create one piece of content and you can distribute it in so many different ways.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you can export it right from YouTube?
Yes, you can export or you can export the MP4s from YouTube. You might be able to export the actual MP3s, but once you export the MP4, you can convert it with some free software online to MP3s, and then add them into places like I said, Apple iPod. You want to get all of your podcasts into Apple because that's where it'll get a lot of traction. Stitcher, like I said, SoundCloud. There's so many different ways to distribute an audio podcast. But again, if you do anything with interviews or you're just you're recording yourself, giving some information, expertise about a certain topic, record yourself. Like I know people don't like to get in front of a camera, and I get that. I understand that it's intimidating, especially if it's your first time. But try it out. Do it. Practice a few times. Record it. You don't have to live stream it. Try to get it right. If it's a 10-minute piece of content that you're trying to explain something, you're the expert on something. Uh, it's going to take you a few times to get it right, but once you get it right, you're happy. Put it into YouTube first, and again, make sure that you fill out the title, you fill out the summary. Think about how a prospective client would be searching for that content. In other words, like how would they type in a search to find that? And that's how you would, you do proper SEO.
So how much time should people expect, like, I mean, obviously it takes how long it takes to record it, but like, to say edit and to distribute, because it sounds like you distribute across a lot of channels. So how much time should people expect to take? Like, is this something people, small business owners should expect to do themselves, or should they farm it out? Like, is it a lot of work, or once you get the hang of it, it's a little quicker?
Well, I always say if you're a small business, you don't have the resources, don't spend money on, getting this done because it's gonna cost you a decent amount of change to do this. Try it yourself. Like I said, you can record simply off of basic software, software that's free. You can record through Zoom. Try it yourself. If you can't figure out how to do it, just Google it, and there's so much information out on Google on how to do it yourself and not have to rely on farming it out. So yeah, and look, you could do it on Facebook. You could do a Facebook Live and only broadcast to yourself. A lot of people don't know that. They think
Oh,
if I'm
that's a
going to
good
go
tip.
live on Facebook, right? If they're going to go live on Facebook, it's going to go to all their friends. You can actually do a setting where you're just broadcasting to yourself, and that way you can take the video, you can download it, put it into YouTube. So there's just so many different ways that you can create video without having to pay for it. And then uploading it to YouTube is very, very simple. A lot of people who don't have expertise or knowledge of YouTube, they're intimidated by, I don't know how to do this. It's very, very simple. If you just go to YouTube and you create an account, you upload video, which is simple click wherever your video is on your desktop or wherever you have it saved, you can just upload it very simply.
Okay, yeah, and then, of course, as you said earlier, you're making sure you fill in that summary information and the keywords. So, of course, this is a long game strategy, whether you decide to take on a podcast or YouTube, or it sounds like both make sense. If you're going to do one, you should do the other, and vice versa, starting with video by your recommendation and your experiences. When can a small business owner expect to see results? Like, is this like a long-term play, short-term play? I guess it depends on the quality of your topic and your keywords in your search, but like, how long is it going to take till you start seeing some ROI or traction or views from all these different channels? And is there some places you can expect to see a little more uptake than others?
That's a great question, Susie. Look, it's really about what they're trying to accomplish with this content. Are they looking to get sales? I always say that if you're looking to build sales in social media, it's a longer game. It's more about networking. It's more about introducing yourself as a subject matter expert, getting people to know, like, and trust who you are, and to really find what they want in what you're promoting. But people have to find your content too. Just because you put it out there doesn't mean they're going to find it. Now, when you put content into YouTube, yes, there's going to be the potential that people can find you, especially if you SEO your content well. But you should not just leave it there. You shouldn't just expect people to find it. Promote yourself. Copy those links from YouTube, share them on your Facebook pages, any other social media that you have. Email marketing, if you have a newsletter, promote those links. Any type of marketing that you do, promote that content, and you should be able to start to see results. It's hard because I don't know how much promotion people are doing. I don't know how small the business is, but if you're bullish and you're marketing yourself really well and you're creating great content, you're going to start to see the ROI, within a couple months, hopefully in 6 months. But again, use your content wisely. Don't use it to hard sell. You don't want to just continue to promote your products and services. That's not really what social media is about. It's about helping others. It's educating the users. It's entertaining. If you can entertain
Mhm.
people, uh, you know, have a personality, show the company in more of a human light, you're
Yeah.
going to start to network and start to build business.
Absolutely. And that's always been one of my major philosophies too. Like at a high level, any marketing endeavors I do is always trying to be entertaining, to your point. Like if you want to be, sorry, be interesting too, like just be interesting. Like how do you stand out in a world where we're all being inundated with like so much inundated, sorry, with lots of
Right.
content. And it's just like, you need to be able to network and build those relationships, make sure that you're keeping things, interesting and that you're not just, to your point, hard pitching, right? So
Right, and
how
I
are
always
you,
say
yeah,
that
just go ahead.
I just wanna make a quick point,
Yeah.
when you're scrolling through social media, what makes you stop? Like, there's so much noise there. You scroll, you scroll, you scroll, there's an advertisement for this, there's, your Uncle Larry's post about God knows what. Like, there's so much stuff out there that you're almost like a robot. What stops you in your track on social media? Video. Video will slow somebody down, but you don't want video that's too polished. That's why I always say when people are intimidated about creating video, "Oh, it's gonna look terrible, it's gonna look bad." I always say, like, the grainier it is, meaning, like, it's not polished, you don't have overlays, it doesn't look like an ad, it's just you in front of a camera talking about something. People are gonna stop for that because they're gonna see somebody they know or potentially would like to know talking about something that might interest them. And if they see you doing that, from a personal perspective, people stop and watch because they're like, "Oh, look at so and so, they're creating video," and then it's gonna inspire others to do the same because, "Hey, if I could do it, anybody could do it." That's the whole mentality about social media. When you see peers, people that are just like you doing video, they don't want to see famous people. They're tired of seeing the Kardashians of the world, on video. It's like nobody wants to see that anymore. They want to see what people like themselves are doing on social media. And that's what's going to get people to stop in their tracks when they're scrolling through social media.
Yeah, and building out that experience, right? Like that
Mhm.
entertainment factor or education, of course, is good. So if it's like something
Right.
inspirational or timely, or if I'm
Sure.
researching something, or thought leadership, like hot takes. I love hot takes too, where people kind
Right.
of
Right.
flip a perspective upside down. But back to what we were talking about with the distribution and publishing long form content and having that as a part of your client acquisition strategy. How do you know if your content strategy is working, being effective? Like what data do you look at? How long do you, go
Mhm.
for this? Because this is all a lot of work. So, I mean, it's evergreen and it's going to be around forever. So on one hand, it's
Yeah.
great because it's like short term, long term, you can use it to promote things. Long term, it's still there when you're doing other things. But like, how do you know if it's working and how do you measure it? Like what KPIs should people be looking at?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for your content to do. Like, for instance, if you're looking for engagement, which is, it's definitely one of the goals of social media. You want people to engage in your content. There are metrics available, certainly on all the social media networks. And this is, I can say now that every social media network has a way to look at the analytics. But the KPIs are really, what are you looking to do? I feel like if you're a business and you're looking to drive traffic to your website, certainly that's one way that you can
Mhm.
look at it.
Yep.
Most companies who have a website should have Google Analytics, working in the background. Yeah, it's something that you can set up pretty easily, so you can sort of take a look at. Um, the traffic that is being pushed from social media over to your website. If you're, like I said, if you're looking for KPIs on the network itself, likes, engagements, any type uh, of those metrics for social media shares, you can find them on the actual network itself. Now, getting tracking a piece of content to a sale is a little bit more challenging from a social
Mhm.
media perspective. It's
Well,
it's one of
arguably too,
those.
sorry, I was just gonna say, arguably too, it's like at this stage, it's kind of more building awareness, right? Like we're just trying to like get
Right,
people to know
right,
who you are, right? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
right, and I think that's really what you wanna do is if you can build a very engaged social media presence, people are gonna remember who you are, you're gonna stay top of mind, it's basically brand awareness. You want people to remember you when they have, um, a situation where they need something from you, a product or service. They're going to remember, hey, I'm going to remember Susie because she is that person on social media who's always engaged. She's always active. She's posting great content. I'm going to go to her. And I think that's the most important part about social media is creating that brand awareness, expanding your brand, not only on your website, your email marketing, but also, make social media an extension of who you are, your brand, and make sure you go into it with a strategy. I always I always say, like, I see so many brands going into social media without a strategy. They're on social media for 2, 3 weeks. They don't know what to post, and then all of a sudden they just don't post anymore. And they have this social media network that hasn't been updated since 2014.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's better to not have a social media presence than to have one that's inactive and or dormant, because it makes you look bad. If somebody's going to a social media, or going to a business and then looking at their social
Yeah.
media and they see that it hasn't been updated in 10 years, they're going to say,
Yes.
well, this is the type of attention to detail that I can expect from this business. Very little. So to me, if you're going to jump into social media, make sure that you go into it with a strategy, update consistently, and don't get
Okay.
frustrated when you don't get the results that you're looking for right away. Be consistent,
Mhm.
be entertaining, be educational, be fun, um, and
It's a
you'll
long
start
game.
to see. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
long game.
Yeah, and you touched on that exactly right about like these out of date profiles, and it's like people don't consistently post content. Like this is so common, but like I mean, granted, I'm a digital marketer, but whenever I'm looking at a new company and I'm checking them out, I always go to their social media channels. Like it's just part of my default.
Right,
I don't know if everybody
right,
does that because I'm a digital marketer, but I certainly always look for it. It's like when I do web design projects, I always try to have the social media profiles
right,
somewhere really easy to access. I still am old school and I like the top header or in the footer, or, if I have
right,
to go to
right,
looking on the contact page. But regardless, to your point, want to make sure you're keeping your channels active, you're building those relationships. But back to the like long form content, if you have the SEO in the channel, or if you're like looking to drive SEO and get more organic traffic to your website, I think that video content, to your point, is a great way through those keywords. So even if you don't have a lot of people intentionally watching your videos necessarily, which hopefully you do, you are getting those keyword juice, from the video
right,
content, which still
right,
is like high ranking and it ties back to your website and will help boost you, your search for your specific keywords that you're pursuing. So I guess you need to have a bit of a keyword strategy to your point, like with the social media strategy before you publish the long form content. You kind of
right,
know what your keywords and topics are in advance to hopefully find some of those,
right,
search
right,
inbound opportunities. So you're not necessarily having to pay Google ads, for that traffic, right?
right, right. And I always think when I create content that's educational,
Yeah.
I will SEO it something like how to something, right?
Okay.
Because
Yep.
when I'm searching for something, what is the most common keywords do I use? How to something, right?
That's
So
a great
you
tip.
want to you want to think in terms of your potential clients, your users. How are they going to find your content? Just SEO it that way, especially if you're creating the great content that's explaining something. It's showing something. It's educational. It's showing how to do something. How do you make sales? you know, whatever it is, make sure that you create the titles and the summaries that support how somebody's going to find this, because that is the most important way for users to find your content. Because look, not a lot of people don't know who you are. They may not know that you are the potential solution provider for their business. So to me, I feel like you want to get that stumble upon traffic just through the organic Google searches.
That's great. And so how does like you touched on social media strategy. We talked a little bit about making sure your podcast is also on YouTube and your YouTube's on a podcast, like making sure that your distribution, like basically one piece of content distributed all over the place and we're promoting and amplifying on social media. And like how does the social media strategy complement, the YouTube and the podcast? Like how does it all fit together?
Well, I think from a overarching idea about social media marketing is you have to have a plan as to whether or not you're going to utilize all these channels to your advantage. We talked about a minute or so ago about
Mhm.
not having a presence on a social media channel if you don't have the time to devote to that. So to me, if you're just starting out, you know, go down the road of one channel and test it
Yeah.
out. Facebook, I always say a business should always have a Facebook page. Even if you're updating once a week, once a month with content, you should still set up your Facebook page, fill out all the about us information. You can put in your email, you can put in your contact information, like your phone number, your location. Have all of
Website.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
have all of that filled out, because if people search your business, Facebook pages come up. They absolutely do. Even though Google and Facebook are competitors, the business will come up on page one of a search for your business.
Yeah.
If you're not updating on Facebook often, that's okay. Make sure you have a presence, because a lot of people will go, if they don't find you on Facebook, they're gonna be like, does this company even exist? YouTube, again, you don't have to have too much activity on YouTube. Meaning, if you just have one video on YouTube, basically, hey, maybe it's a video that talks about who you are as a business. Set up your channel page, and that's fine. That's all you need to start. Once you sit down and you start to create a strategy, and I always say a strategy should involve video. If it is involving video, you should always be putting content into YouTube, no matter what it is. I mean, if it's internal for your business, you don't have to obviously put it onto YouTube. But any type of content that's going to appeal to your base, put it into YouTube. And if you create content like live streaming on any other network, say Facebook, LinkedIn, you can export that content very easily from those networks and then
That's a great
upload
tip.
that same video into YouTube. But I would, like I said, strategy should start very, very basically, and
Hmm.
you should not be
Expand from
too
there.
aggressive in your social media strategy plan. Go with a network that you think that your users are mostly going to be on.
Yeah.
For instance, if your customers are older, they're probably going to be on Facebook. If they're younger, they're going to be on TikTok. But to me, I feel like you can't lose by having a presence on Facebook. If that's going to be your starting point for where you're going to try to cultivate an audience, that's a good start for any business. But again, YouTube, yes, it's a social network, but it's more a repository for videos. Any type of videos
Yeah.
you do, just put them into
It's a
YouTube.
big SEO play. Well, thank you. And like two thoughts come to
Yep.
mind. One, you're not going to go to the gym 6 times a week if you haven't been going to the gym. So
Right,
that's
right.
unrealistic. So starting basic.
Sure.
And then, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So starting basic
Right, right.
to sum it up. Well, thank you so much for sharing your very valuable insights here. It's all about distribution, right? So I appreciate your insights that you shared and helping small businesses and, kind of like where to begin and where to advance. And I hope we can connect and talk more about this in the future. So thanks so much for coming
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Thanks for
All right.
having me, Susie.
Thank you.